Hey guys, today we're talking about the Phantom versus the Vandal and which one I think is better. And I will give you guys an answer in this video. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you guys all for the support. My channel's been growing a lot recently, so if you guys see this, leave a heart in the comments. But basically, we're going to be talking about the Phantom versus the Vandal. If you guys didn't know, you can actually hover over guns, and on the right side, you can see their stats. So there's a few main differences that actually do matter whenever you're thinking about buying these guns, but something I'm going to talk about at the very end of this video is Phantom or Vandal on specific maps, which I think is really important because, yes, I'll go ahead and say it, the Phantom is better than the Vandal objectively, but that doesn't mean that you wouldn't ever want to use the Vandal. That also doesn't mean that you shouldn't use the Vandal if you like the Vandal, if you feel like you play better with the Vandal, because there are players that only use the Vandal, and that's completely fine because they're not that different. They're just slightly different, and the Phantom's just slightly better than the Vandal. And I'll go ahead and start to explain why here. So if we hover over these two, we see a few differences. And I guess I can explain the differences and the similarities. So the differences: the Phantom shoots faster. It has more bullets. It's easier to spray. See, it's where it says first shot spread. That basically means that after the first shot, it's not going to spread as much. So like whenever I spray like this, the second bullet and beyond are not going to be as far or hard to control. This is why spraying with the Phantom is easier and more recommended than with the Vandal. And then also fire rate. I don't know if I already said that. Fire rate is slightly higher. We can see 11 versus 9.75. One thing that I will say is the main downside of the Phantom over the Vandal, which I'm sure most of us already know, is that the Phantom can hit people for 140 at medium to long range distances. So like probably this range definitely would hit you 140. But the Vandal, you can't do that unless you hit them in the wall. You see, the Phantom actually has 3 ranges. It has 0 to 15, 15 to 30, and 30 to 50. So if you look at the Vandal, it's 0 to 50. So actually the Vandal is quite nice in that respect. So you're basically trading minus 5 bullets, a slower firing rate, and less potential to spray for longer range. So basically if you want that, that's why you'd use the Vandal. If you like to tap, if you like taking longer range fights, then you might like the Vandal over the Phantom. Otherwise, there's a lot about the Phantom that's better than the Vandal. And if you're willing to fight closer ranges and have the occasional 140 to the head, and you know, it's kind of unlucky if that does happen, but you know, it does happen. So yeah, other than that, that's about it. I'll go ahead and talk about the similarities. So both guns have a zoom of 1.25 whenever you aim down sights like this. So no matter the skin, no matter Phantom or Vandal, see, I do have this slight magnification whenever I zoom. And then also similarities, we have fire rate. No, I don't know why that says 90%. Move speed's the same. Spread and recoil reduction's the same. No, spread's not the same. Crosshair follows recoil. Oh yeah, another main thing is tracers are not visible to enemies on the Phantom, which is an added bonus over the Vandal. Some people would argue that tracers are actually a benefit whenever you're using the Vandal. So basically tracers are, like, you can see the bullet trail. You see this red bullet that I'm shooting? That is a tracer. Phantom, I think you can actually see it, but enemies can't see it. Enemies can't see that. So tracer is not visible to enemies, and firing sound can't be heard from 40 plus meters unless you're shooting directly at enemies. So that is an added bonus of the Phantom that you guys might not have known about. Tracers, basically, if you're using the Vandal and shooting at an enemy and you shoot like 1 bullet, there's no way they're gonna know where you're at, because unless you're just like very low ranked. But basically they're gonna see it's like a projectile coming straight at them. Even though this is not a projectile, it looks like the bullet tracer itself kind of looks like a projectile. You see it has travel time. Even though whenever I shoot the... Stop, Felix. Cat is crazy this morning. So yeah. So yeah. Now I'm gonna go ahead and exit out, and I'm gonna show you guys each map. I'm just gonna hover over each map and tell you guys which gun I would personally use. So ASCENT, Phantom versus Vandal. We're gonna probably go for either. Vandal is really good in middle of the map because it's very long range, and I often find myself using it if I want to fight mid. But if I do want to go for the Phantom, I will fight A main or B main. And this is because A main and B main are much closer range, like close to medium range, and the chance of you hitting someone for 140 is very low. Split, I pretty much am exclusively using the Phantom. The only place I would suggest you maybe look to use the Vandal is A site whenever you're pushing or defending. And this is assuming that you don't have a preference toward the Vandal already. Because if you really want to use the Vandal, there's no reason you shouldn't use it as well. But I'm just saying, if you have no preference, then Phantom's objectively better on Split. Fracture is also a heavy Phantom map for me, just because of like there's not really many long range peaks, except if you're peeking like B main. Vandal can be good for there. Again, Vandal can be good here as well. It's just for me, I would pick Phantom most of the time, especially if I'm like attacking. Bind is gonna be kind of a hybrid, so Phantom or Vandal. If you're peeking long B or showers on defense, then or on defense or on attack, I would go Vandal just because those are very long ranges. And definitely if you have a Phantom and you're peeking long, there's a chance that you can get someone for 140. With that being said, whenever I run out short, I might prefer a Phantom. Or whenever I go into hookah and dash out onto site, I might prefer a Phantom. So again, this is kind of round to round for me. What I'm feeling that day, if I'm feeling the Phantom only, I'll only buy the Phantom. If I'm feeling the Vandal only, I'll only buy the Vandal. Breeze, that is a Vandal only map. This is because the whole map is just long. Like, it doesn't really matter where you peek. The angles where enemies can be, they're going to be far enough away for you to hit someone in the head for 140 with the Phantom, pretty much always. Unless you just, you know, have really good ways to close the gap. But, like, literally every part of the map that I'm imagining, except elbow, is a long-range peek. Into B-site, mid, anywhere mid, halls, and A main are all going to be long angles. So I'd suggest the Vandal on Breeze for sure. ICEBOX, for me, this is kind of a hybrid. Like, I like to use the Phantom on A site. You can also use it on B site, but B site is again kind of like longer range, especially if you're peeking from B into a snowman, and that's just like a, you know, a long fight. But that being said, you don't really have to peek snowman. You can just kind of chill and wait for them to hit spike, and you can use Phantom in that scenario. Mid, kind of like the Vandal there as well. Haven, this is a pretty much Phantom only map for me. It's a small map. There's 3 sites, so that means that the sites are kind of smaller than standard sites, like Bind or Ascent. The sites are just smaller, so using the Phantom is quite advantageous for you. The only angle that really you're gonna want the only angles you're gonna want the Vandal is gonna be for mid push, C long fight, and from A long into A lobby, or from A short into A lobby. So hopefully that makes sense. Like, if I'm pushing, I'm pretty much only gonna buy the Phantom because you don't really need to take these fights. Like, but if you want to, you can, of course. So yeah, that's my guide for the maps for different guns. If you guys have any other questions about like why you should pick Phantom over the Vandal or vice versa, or why most people would say that the Phantom's just overall better, then let me know in the comments. Again, thank you guys for all the support recently, and I will see you guys in the next one.